It's hard to remember now, but Val Kilmer was once a massive film star. He was also a controversially demanding method actor who alienated people left and right. But along the way, he gave such varied performances that it's amazing they were all played by the same man. He did drama and comedy back and forth. He did thrillers. He disappeared into roles. Now, that's not to say he's a finished man. He's still alive and still working in the industry. And I'm still eagerly waiting for him to finally be able to play Mark Twain in that movie he's been trying to make for, well, okay, it's been a while, but the point is I'm still waiting for that Mark Twain movie. As of 2017, though, these are my top 5 Val Kilmer performances. Number 5. Heat. When this movie first came out, the biggest selling point was that legendary Italian actors Al Pacino and Robert De Niro were both in it, and they were both going to face off on the opposite sides of the law. Next to this kind of star power, it's understandable if other great actors might get lost in the shuffle. But Val Kilmer surprisingly manages to stand on his own in a very strong supporting role. Chris is the hothead of the criminal gang. He's violent, abusive to his spouse, and a force to be reckoned with on a crime job. While it is a stereotypical role, there's no denying that Kilmer does a great job with what he's given. We buy him as a dangerous hothead who knows his way around a gun. We buy that he would shoot his way through a line of policemen without thinking twice. It's simple to say, but it's not always simple to carry through. There's a lot of actors that try to be threatening and just look silly. This is an example of Kilmer knowing his place in the movie and giving it his all without stealing the show from whom it belonged. Number 4. Alexander Revisited, The Final Cut. Yes, the movie has flaws. Yes, Kilmer's probably given a few better performances that I haven't seen yet, but I'll be damned if I don't enjoy watching Kilmer play Philip of Macedon. In case you don't know, Alexander's father played a huge role in shaping the world for Alexander to conquer it. He became king of a backwards little country under siege from all sides, and by the time of his death, it was the most powerful nation in the Balkan region, with Greece eating from his hand. Sadly, we don't get to see that part of Philip in the movie, but we do get a great glimpse of the old King Philip. We get a bloated drunk of a king who sleeps around, causes brawls, and who acts like a man who's earned the right to do whatever he wants. Kilmer goes big in this role, literally and figuratively. He gained 50 pounds, he learned to see out of just one eye, and he hammed up his performance with all the Shakespearean hyperbole you can imagine. Yes, it's over the top, but the legend of Philip is over the top already. We get the famous moment where he gets into a screaming match with his son, which ends with one of the greatest put-downs in all of history. The final cut also gives him scenes which will lead to a reckoning that he never saw coming. But while Kilmer is great with hyperbole, he also gives Philip moments which humanize him. There's the moment where he dares his son to tame a wild horse, or when he takes Alexander down into the caves to teach him valuable lessons that he's learned in his life. It's a performance that goes unmentioned when people usually praise Kilmer, but it's one of my personal favorites. Number 3. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This movie was a kickstart for both the filmmaker and its star. Shane Black and Robert Downey Jr. got huge career boosts from this amazing film, which also led to them both getting into the Iron Man franchise. The weird thing is, it did nothing to boost Val Kilmer's career, but he gives just as good of a performance as Downey Jr. Gay Perry is a private detective who gets caught up in the complicated mystery which fills this movie's plot. And in true Shane Black style, he's forced to work with a guy that he absolutely despises. Harry's naivete clashes with Perry's professionalism, and frankly, the rest of their personalities clash with each other too. What I also like about Perry is how Shane Black uses him to play with the gay stereotype. Perry is completely aware of how gay people are stereotyped and viewed by other people, and he dislikes those stereotypes, but he uses them when it's in his advantage to use them. But the trick is that he himself is not a stereotype at all. He's a highly skilled detective with a foul mouth and a razor-sharp wit. But if it'll get him out of a jam, he'll happily mince his words and act a bit feminine in exactly the way that a stupid movie would write a gay character. It's all done for satire, and so it works. One of his funniest moments in the film is when he has to get himself and Harry out of a situation which seems impossible to escape, and the method he chooses is absolutely hysterical, and it leads to a surprise that I will not reveal. This movie is on the list for that scene alone. Number 2. The Doors. This was the high watermark for Kilmer when it comes to completely disappearing into a role. He embodies Jim Morrison so completely that even those who hate the historical inaccuracy of this film will grudgingly admit that Kilmer was spot on in his performance and voice work. And that kind of praise has to be taken very seriously. Jim Morrison was one of the best American singers of all time, and Kilmer spent a year preparing to embody that iconic voice. This role justifies the title of chameleon more than any other role that Kilmer has ever done. So why isn't it number 1? Well, unfortunately, the script lets him down in a few areas. And it's hard to get around the fact that he's often playing Morrison at his very worst, to the point that watching the movie almost becomes a bit of a chore. While I will always praise his brilliant performance, I can't say that it's my favorite of his to watch. For that, we go to his number 1 performance in the movie Tombstone. This is one of the best American westerns that I've ever seen. It balances the romantic view of the Old West with a gritty and realistic take on the violence that comes with it. And while Kurt Russell gives us the best Wyatt Earp ever played on screen, we also get Val Kilmer's unbeatable performance as Doc Holliday. He's funny, he's educated, he's cynical, he's violent, he might even be suicidal. But above all, he's loyal to the few friends he has left. Kilmer takes what could have been the simple sidekick or the comic relief and turned him into a multi-layered character that we grow to love. Even the way he moves and talks in the film is iconic. Fans of the Nostalgia Critic might remember that he listed Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday as one of his all-time favorite movie characters. It's because the movie allows for Kilmer to develop Doc Holliday into an iconic character with hypocrisies, with flaws, and a cause which gives him a reason to keep on fighting. Of all his amazing performances, Val Kilmer has never been Oscar nominated, and it's mind-boggling to me that that's the case. But if I were to give him a single Oscar, it would be for Doc Holliday in Tombstone.